It's a blue room post-match in an infuriating game for Everton away at Nottingham Forest. They finished Nottingham Forest 2, Everton 2. I've got Rob Vera with me. Les Roberts is going to join us in a minute or so. There's a lot to unpack here on what Everton did down at Forest today. And first of all, I mean, we even just started talking before we began the podcast, didn't we, Rob? Because we were that angry about the way in which things unfolded, certainly in the second half. I don't know whether to start in a positive fashion and say that was a much improved Everton overall. If you to take away that we drew 2-2 away at Forest, a lot of people would take that point. I'd have certainly taken that point, and I'd be sitting here saying to you, we've done a well-earned thing there. But to lead that game twice, to have gone 1-0 up and 2-1 up, and the way in which the goals we conceded happened, to me, that is a big 2 points dropped, and I'm feeling a lot more angry possibly than if we'd have gone there and lost the game comfortably and Forrest ran away with it. It's funny the way things work out with football and how you support it, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I did think that we played one of our best first halves in a while. I hated the goal we gave up, but I mean, you hate most goals you give up, but I hated that first goal we gave up because we just our center halves dropped off so much and just allowed that entry pass into Brennan Johnson. And then but I was so impressed though with overall the way we played in the first half. We found a way to get 2 goals. Yes, I know it's a penalty, it's a set piece, but I think that we all kind of expected under Sean Dyche that open play goals were not really going to be, something that we could really count on, right? So all we can take from it is that we, had a lead. We allowed them to get even, and then we took the lead, which to me shows a team that had a really good response. Like we responded well to get the lead. So then the second half comes. And what's interesting is that, and I know a lot of people right now are saying how poorly we played in the second half, which on the balance of we certainly did. But I really felt up until the point at which Forest equalized that we were overall, yes, it was getting a little ropey at the beginning of the half, but it felt like we kind of taken their best shots and taken the sting out of the game. And I actually felt, Dave, which I think goes to speak to the old adage that my guts have shit for brains, but I absolutely I felt like we were going to win this game. I didn't feel like Forrest had much. I said on Twitter that we'd scored more goals in the first half than we'd scored in all of February. Well, Forrest equaled their 2 goals today, equaled their goal total for February. I thought these are 2 evenly matched bad teams, but we were a little bit better today, and I fully expected to win. I think I said pretty forcefully on Twitter, I said, a draw is like, at this point, a victory is the only acceptable result for me because we were up 2-1. I felt like we had decent control of the game. So to score 2 away goals, to concede 2 goals, to concede a lead with 13 minutes left in the match. I mean, the way in which the midfield got really loose, the way in which the center halves, compound the mistakes in the midfield by kind of, easing off of attacking players. It's like they think if they back up closer to the keeper that's going to give them a better chance to keep the ball out of the net. And we saw that wasn't the case. Like, aren't these the things that we were told Sean Dyche was going to solve, right? Like, I don't have big expectations for us being a free-flowing scoring side. Like, even if we had a healthy Calvert-Lewin, that's just not really Dyche's style of play, right? But what I did expect was that when it mattered most, when we had a lead with 13 minutes to go, that call it the Moya sub if you want, but bring on another defender, do something. To make 2 subs with 3 minutes left in regular time felt ridiculous. Like, what was that meant to accomplish? Davis and Mope? I mean, what was that going to do? And so, I felt like but I felt like the manager, from the very beginning, look, it was working, I guess, but in a game that mattered most, to look at that and say, I'm gonna start Gray, which I think that was clearly the most effective thing, was to start Gray, and he scored the penalty, and I think overall he was pretty decent today. And then, but to look at your most important game of the season, I'm sorry, guys. I know some people are squinting and saying that Michael Keane played well today. You can say that if you want to. I would offer up the two goals and his role, but especially on the first goal, and say I don't get it. But look, these are choices that the manager has made. So for all of don't get me wrong, we can all agree the board is most culpable for the situation that we're in right now. But we hired Sean Dyche, who wanted this job, who lobbied heavily for this job, in moments like these, where we needed to make 2 goals be enough for a win, where we needed to protect leads late in games, where we needed the midfield to play compact and tight, where we needed our defenders to defend as tightly as possible, in those important moments. Like, these were the things that we thought Sean Dyche was going to deliver. Yeah. I'm not saying it's all over. I'm not saying it's all a disaster. I'm simply saying that the manager, for whatever you think we have done to play better under Sean Dyche, and I think we're a little bit better than we've been under Lampard, obviously. But I feel like some of this is on him today, and to say it's not, I feel like is letting him off the hook.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do think there's a big irony in all this, because I think today, for a while, is the first time we've showed some real competence, and Les has joined us now, so I'll come to you next, Les. Having come away from this game, and I'm saying at the start, Les, I'm absolutely fuming that we drew that match, because for first in a long time, I saw a lot of things that looked effective and actually looked like, do you know what? If we did this most of the season, we'd probably be a mid-table side. Various way people were. Excuse me. I thought Nana was absolutely fine. It wasn't as the impact that we've seen him have, but I felt that was because Ajisagaya and Decore next to him actually stepped up to the plate for once. I thought you wouldn't think that was the same player in Ajisagaya that played against Arsenal the other night. It looked like everyone was actually stepped up here and willing to go. I mean, I started screaming up and down when McNeil ends up winning a corner for us, and he's at the end where our away fans is, and he's giving it fists and screaming and all that. And I'm thinking that feels like proper Everton passion for once. When Gray scores and that first goal, he's slapping the badge and all that stuff. I was thinking, where's this been? Where's this been for the last 2 years? And it felt like for large parts of that game that it was such a different Everton, but lo and behold, so many others refer to type. And we were just talking before you came on there, Les, about Keane. Certain people have said, a few people have said that he played well. I thought he was responsible, or heavily responsible, certainly for the first one, the second one as well. Him and Tarkovsky simply don't close that ball down quick enough when Johnson scores that equaliser for them. But do you feel that sort of way of coming away from this with 2 points dropped rather than 1 gained?
God, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't have really thought after the season we've had that you come away from Forest, who've got a really good home record, thinking that's 2 points dropped, but it is. As you say, we look competent today. I don't think we play particularly brilliantly, but we look like a competent side. And competent sides go to teams like Forest and beat them, basically, or they should do, because they're not a good side at all. I think they were probably in that game for about 10 minutes of the 90, and they scored in both sort of sets of play that they had. I think the issue is, I think Michael Keane did Michael Keane things well, and he won a lot of headers when he needed to. He caused a little bit of chaos in the opposition box. But then, as you said, he reverts to type, and a lot of them do this. Decore, the same. It's just one lazy pass. And I know there was a lot to do. Once that ball was given away, they still had a lot to do to get that shot away. And that's where, as you say, Tarkovsky and Keane let us down because they didn't close the man down. You cannot give any player that much room in the box to shoot. So they let us down there, but it's just lazy stuff like that, isn't it? It's a really, really poor pass. I don't know what the hell he's trying to do. There was options on, like there was for Garner at Arsenal the other night. There was about 3 options, 3 ways he could have played that, and he picked the wrong one. So it's things like that are really biting us at the minute, and that's what you find when you're down there, because the chances you create are few and far between, and when you do make a mistake, it is often pounced on. I don't know what to think really, because we're really, really, really in the shit there, because we're obviously running out of games, running out of, well, I don't know if we've got any winnable. We can't look at any and say they're winnable, can we? Because we're pretty wretched. But I don't know. I think we do look a lot better, but I don't think Dyche can get those character flaws out of those players. Because
and looking better there, Les, as well. I mean, that doesn't equate to gaining the points that we need, does it? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
oh no, I mean, the
that's
bar's
what I
pretty
mean.
low, isn't it?
Well, this is when I got to the end of that game, I was sitting there just summing it up before we started doing this, because obviously the game only finished like 20 minutes ago, and I was sitting there thinking, do you know, and this sounds really, really thick, but you take away the score of the game finished. If you take that away, I'd be like, and yeah, I didn't know how we were this season. I'd think we'll be in for Europa League there. We'll be looking at trying to challenge for the Europa League if you take away the league table and the scores. Obviously, the most important things and factors in a game of football in the Premier League, but then it's the stupidity still doesn't change. Like you've just said there, Dyche, whether you like him or you don't, or whether you think he's done decent so far or you don't, there are flaws in those players that is just because they're human beings that he can't affect, and that's what's so infuriating when people talk about whether the team is decent at being able to head it out, but nothing else really. I think when the ball's on the floor is where he really lacks it. Unfortunately, that's what happens in 90% of football matches.
Yeah,
go on.
I think just as a joint, then Rob was talking about the lack of substitutions, and I think that's where it is on him today, because we've spoken a lot down the years, haven't we, of managers having no plan B. And I don't know if Dyche is that sort of manager. I don't imagine he is. I imagine he's got a pretty solid idea of what he wants to do. I imagine he has got backup plans, because he seems to talk a good game in the interviews I've seen anyway. But I just think today it was to not make changes until that point in the game was really, really weird. It was just dead odd, and that is definitely on him today. As Rob was saying, whether it's to put another defender on to really like sort of close up, maybe put another attacker on to really go for it, because we could have stuck a couple more past them if we'd have had the intent.
Correct.
I think so. One or the other, he had to do a 2-1, because that game was never going to see out at 2-1 the way it was.
And I fully acknowledge, by the way, that what a joke of a bench we've got. Like I know that this squad
is that poor. Like
we all acknowledge that the squad is poor, it lacks attacking quality. I've pretty consistently said this season that we have a championship level attack, and we just do. It's just not good enough. So on a day when we score 2 goals, I've got to and especially if you're going to have all these defenders on the bench, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to be too revisionist history here, because like I said, up until that Decore pass, I felt like we were handling it okay, but there were some signs, I guess. It just felt like to have gone that deep into the game and to not make any subs is a choice. So if you're going to make that choice, then to bring Tom Davis and Neil Maupay on with 3 minutes to go in regular time, it feels like he was caught in between two minds. And I don't get it. And look, the scoring was always going to be tough, no matter who the manager was with this squad. But, right now, I think if I've got my count correct, guys, we are at 4 goals scored and 10 conceded under Dyche right now. And I know that there's a heavy loss to Arsenal, and but the record is what the record is. And so I think I expected the defense to be better under Dyche, and it hasn't been. And so some of that has to come back to the choices that are made about who starts, about who, what the solutions are. Look, and for anyone who's thinking that this is all, this is not just a under the radar discussion of Yerry Mina for me. He could have brought Cody on in the as a third center half today, a guy who is very accustomed to playing at three center halves at the back for the final bit of time just to see it out. Like, I don't know if it's that Sean Dyche looked at a 2-1 lead and thought, hey, we've got this. But I don't know why he would have thought that, given the evidence he's seen so far, that we've got, 2-1 lead is safe. Maybe, maybe it's one of those things where, look, you've got the 2-1 lead. You got to find a way to see this out a little bit. I know that being an Everton manager is a very difficult job, and I know that it's a very difficult job with this squad of players, but the bottom line is we had 2 leads today. We scored 2 goals today against a very poor team that we were pretty evenly matched with. That felt like a game that absolutely had to be 3 points given where we were. Forest could take a draw today given the fact that they, where they are right now on the table. This was much harder for us. This is much more of a loss for us than it is for them. And again, I don't know how many times I have to say this. Now the next match becomes the biggest match of the season, and we're just running, like as Les said, we're just running out of games to play. And this feels right now like a very slow death, and it's really hard to watch.
That's so true, isn't it, Les? Because when I've sat here for the last 20 minutes saying, oh, there's positives here. I'm not sure what I'm almost certain that's what Dyche will say. I haven't seen his post match yet, but almost certain that he'll say, oh, look, we've improved. There's players who've done this, there's players who've done that, as we've analysed. Like I said, Idrissa Gueye was much better, looked like a completely different player to how we did against Arsenal. But it's becoming less and less important with the amount of games we have to save this. It's like, dare to say it, and I bang on this word every single year about the way a lot of fans are with us. It feels like sentiment to say that we're playing well whilst not gaining 3 points. And that sub, just referring to what you said there, Rob, about the sub, I've no idea why he puts Mopé on for Gray on 89 minutes. And I think you said he sort of twixt in between there, that substitution he's made, because if you're still going for the game, then that's the only logic that comes behind that. But if you're doing that, we conceded with 13 minutes to go. Why not make the decision then? And then formally to what you were saying, Les, about if you're trying to protect the 2-1 lead, then take Gray off and put Mina on, even throw Holgate on, someone else who will stand in front of them. Because for the most of that game, the majority of that game I looked at, it was a really open game. There was nothing really solid about it from either side. There were chances created. The amount of space that Iwobi tended to get on the right-hand side, the amount of space that McNeil got, lo and behold, it's quite funny that that's a game where we dread playing against the side when the game is open like that was. Yet that was the best we've played for some time. Even, dare to say, games where we've got the victories against like Leeds, against Arsenal. That match for us today was there, and again, I said it again, on a plate to go up twice and then only get a point. I think that's a perfect way that Rob's described it, as in it's a slow and painful death. This, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like today, the sort of the forward line did the job because they got the 2 goals, and that's something we've not been able to say for a long time. So as Rob was saying, when you get 2 goals in a game like that, that should be enough to see it out, and that is where we needed to be better in defence, not switching off. But it's been the story of the whole season, hasn't it? You look at our midfield, and although, as you say, Garner was better today, there was still a lot of giving the ball away at stupid times with stupid little passes, even in and around their box. When we're attacking, it'll be that one final ball they don't hit in, and then they lose possession or lose momentum, or they just play a really little lazy pass back to someone, just under hit it, and we lose possession again. And there was a lot of that from both teams today. I think, as you said, it was 2 very evenly matched teams, which kind of tells you all you need to know about the state of this Everton team.
Matched with shite.
Yeah, we are in this position because we're not a good side.
Yeah,
and that there's no glossing over that. And the thing we've all been tearing our hair out since January about is the fact that we're not a good side, but we didn't help ourselves in January because we didn't give ourselves an option to be a bit of a better side because we didn't sign anyone, and it's really, really starting to show. Now, I thought Demarai Gray was better up front today.
Yeah,
people have said like he's not so much of a team player. That's probably why Dyche doesn't fancy him, but he's fast and he can score. and which is more than
What does that
like,
mean? He's not a team player. That seems like subtext for something.
Yeah, I think it's because he looks to shoot, doesn't he? And he likes to take players on. Maybe holds onto the ball a little bit too much. I don't really get it because I just think he's a decent player.
Yeah,
He's always been a
frustrates me.
Yeah,
Gray
sorry,
frustrates me. Gray frustrates me like he frustrates everyone at times. But when the choice is Neil Maupay or Ellis Sims, give me Gray every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
He carries the ball forward. He can make things happen. Which
the issue that's always been, it's almost like a stereotype that he's had, Les. Because I remember talking to a really good colleague of mine at the BBC who's a Leicester fan, and said he's one of the most infuriating players he's ever seen because he's got every talent you want in a player that's going to cut inside from the left. He's got a great right foot. He can shoot. He can cross. He can do everything you want in an attacking player that can either cut inside or play on the wing. But there are so many occasions when he just doesn't do it. And I think a lot of people see that, and Rob's right, seeing it as a subtext with something else, that he just can't be asked. Because I think it's really easy to make that statement against a player that doesn't fully deliver, is to say, oh, he either doesn't care or he's just lazy. And I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that's it at all.
He ran his ass off. I don't think
exactly.
He's
lazy. I've never seen that in him, and I just think, you can say that about a lot of wingers, even the best wingers in the world.
Well, we've just sold one as well, haven't we?
Kevin Sheedy. Kevin Sheedy used to get called that basically because he was a very lackadaisical player. He wasn't someone who's going to go putting challenges in like other players, but he was just dead good. Now, I'm not comparing Kevin Sheedy and Demarai Gray, although they got the same number. But it's just like that's what you get with wingers. You do get that they flit in and out of games. They are quite flaky players, but as Rob said, if it's a choice between Demarai Gray and Neil Maupay or even Ellis Sims, it's a no-brainer. You've got to play him up front because he's the most direct player we've got. He can't. I mean, who takes that penalty today if he's not on the pitch?
Yeah, it's an excellent point.
Yeah, I was wondering that exact same thing, Les. I said that in one of my chats. Like, thank God he was playing today because I cannot imagine what meek member of that squad is going to walk up and take that. McNeil. I mean, God,
it's one of those, where I could see Onana just having more balls than anyone saying, I'll take it. Not a penalty taker and blazes it over, something like that.
And look, it doesn't even matter like how we scored the goals. We had 2 goals today, which just feels like an absolute explosion of offense for us. And it just I'm blown away that we scored. Like, I thought, and look, you guys tell me if I'm leaning into the Deitch stereotype too much, but I thought Deitch's side that scores 2 goals is going to win games. It's just, like if you told me that we were going to get a draw today, I would have, before the game, I would have thought, okay, if it's 0-0 or 1-1, okay, so be it. But to give up 2 goals to a side that challenged offensively, which they're probably saying the same thing about us, how they allowed Everton to score 2 goals today, they probably are asking the same thing. But the difference ultimately is that we may have outplayed them for larger parts of the game today, but look who scored the goals for them. They have 1 or 2 actual offensive attacking difference makers. And Brennan Johnson is one of them, and I thought today, God, if Emmanuel Dennis or Andre Ayew score today, I thought that's going to be it for me.
When Ayew came on, it was like, oh no, don't.
It just felt a fait accompli at that point. But no, look, this just I think we focus a lot, and rightly so, and I said this on Twitter earlier, on how much Everton feel like they are punished for individual mistakes resulting in a goal more than any other side. Now, part of that is we're watching them, and the other part of it, so we really notice it. But the other part of that, frankly, is that we still, and this has been the case through multiple managers, we still are a side that when we make a mistake, and let's be honest, in a league this fast and physical, the whole setup of the league is such that you are pressured into making mistakes constantly. The difference, though, is that when we make an individual error, we then compound that error by then doing dumb things. So look, Decore made an unforgivable pass today, but as Les said before, there was still plenty to do to take that ball and score. And to see our on the second goal, to see Tarkovsky especially, but both he and Keane just sort of back off and allow for that goal to be picked right into that corner. On the first goal, to watch Keane just give 5 or 6 yards to that entry pass, it's like, oh, here, I'll set a screen so you can make a perfect pass into the box. Like it infuriates me because it's defensively, especially, those guys should know better. I mean, these are experienced, regardless of what you think of the quality. Tarkovsky and Keane are guys who have been in this league for a long time. They know better.
And also together as well, Rob. They played together for a long time as well.
Or at least know well enough that they've played together, know each other, whatever the thinking is. Dyche has elevated a guy who had not started a game since last season to suddenly play 90 minutes against Arsenal. We concede 4 goals, and again, it's not all on Keane, but it's like that. I guess if you're gonna tell me, and you guys try and follow me here, if you guys are going to tell me that Everton's path to survival is scoring goals on set pieces and defending the box, and especially the aerial threats, resolutely, and being willing to press up on defenders coming into the box, like, there's a choice being made about who to play at center half right now, and that choice has its consequences. And again, this is not all down to the center halves today. I don't want to get into that as being the only reason we lost today. But what I would say is that the circumstances of today, if you had told me Sean Dyche is our manager, we have a 2-1 lead away at Forest with 13 minutes to go, I would have said we're absolutely keeping that lead, because Sean Dyche is the type of manager who's going to be responsive enough to make sure that we make, for everyone saying we have nothing to bring on off the bench, I would counter with, this is the exact scenario that this terrible defensively slanted bench is set up to be able to accommodate for, right? If we're chasing a goal, we're in trouble. But if we're defending a lead at 2-1 with the best goalkeeper, England's #1 back there, and we've got all of these center halves on the bench, you can't convince me that there wasn't a move to be made, and that's where I'm most disappointed at this point.
I think when we talk about those defenses there, Les, the 2 centre backs, like Rob said, it's important to stress that it's not just down to them. There's a high percentage of it today. I thought it was down to them, and it almost looks to me like when you see it, I don't want this to sound as bad as it is, but it does sound bad. So when you start learning how to defend as a kid in school, where you close down, you've got to close down a shot from the opponent, or you sort of stand off them as if they're going to attack you. Both of those goals there, certainly more the second one when Johnson scores that equaliser to make it 2-2, where both Keane and Tarkovsky, it's almost like they're asking him to shoot. They're more than happy for him to shoot when he's 20, 25 yards out, rather than have to go down and try and challenge him. Either that sort of a lack of confidence in your own defending, or it's you thinking, just leave it to Pickford. There's no way he's going to hit the top corner here. But then it's almost like you immediately forget this is the Premier League and this can happen all the time. You look at how Arsenal went and won that game yesterday against Bournemouth, thankfully for us, by the way. When stuff like that happens, that's what makes it so infuriating, because both of those lads, like I said, spent a few years together at Burnley, which largely was a rock and got them into the Premier League and made them stay in the Premier League for the most part of it. And then you look at them doing such simple mistakes for them to score the goal. That's even more infuriating.
Yeah, and the fact is, he wasn't even 25 yards out. He was in the area.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't even in the area.
Yeah, it was inside the area. To let a player get a shot off from inside the area is it's unforgivable.
Yeah.
As a defender, that is your #1 priority, to get your body in the way or get the ball off him, and neither of them did that. And on the first one, the first goal, that was exactly the same as the one they scored at Goodison. It was the same goal. It was Brennan Johnson getting a parry from Jordan Pickford, and no one picked him up. Now, I know Michael Keane was susceptible on that. Ben Godfrey and Dwight McNeil also. Dwight McNeil was just jogging back. He sort of saw Brennan Johnson quite late. He was like, oh, and then was like, no, it's too late. But he should have been with him. Ben Godfrey didn't look over his shoulder. Now, I know he's not a fullback, but when you're playing fullback, you look over your shoulder. When the other team's attacking, you don't get dragged across. You check to see if there's someone behind you. So I'm saying this is really, really basic stuff. And I think it's just quite ingrained in these players. They're just maybe not that good. And not, we've said for ages, they're not very clever, are they? They've got no sort of smarts when it comes to playing football, because they haven't actually. They're quite basic players, but they're not getting the real basic stuff right. And games like today, that's what's done us in. It was so preventable, those goals. I say Forest will probably say the same about us.
Yeah.
It was just two pretty shit sides going at it today, wasn't it? And it was probably ended. Yeah. I think we were the better side overall, marginally.
We won the XG battle again, guys. So there's that.
And we had 3 shots on target. That's got to be a low percentage this season. But with that point you made there, Les, about that sort of simple tracking back that you get a left back or just walking back like McNeil. That first goal reminded me so much of what happened when Saka scored for Arsenal the other day, where I was bemoaning the gap between Keane and Mikalenko at the time. So it could just be slided through to Saka. There was a big gap between them, so it was such an easy pass to make. That one obviously different because there was a shot there. Pickford, who I don't know why people were blaming him, because it was a decent save he made. People were saying, well, why didn't he put it out for the corner? Not like a keeper can choose when he's diving for the shot.
Again as well, that was a shot from just on the edge of the box that they just let him out.
That no one's asked about. Right. Well, do you know, and the thing is, the percentages there would say, oh yeah, okay, that you're probably not going to win, but you don't even take the chance, do you? You don't just say, go on, mate, shoot, and we'll see, because you got England's number 1 in goal. I don't understand what happened there, but Godfrey was an issue for many people. The fact that he was thrown in, Mikalenko's apparently injured. I don't know why we don't even look at Vinagre at all. For either side of the flank, he'd probably do a decent job. We haven't even seen enough of him yet to judge on that. Godfrey, I was concerned that he was put in there and I was concerned that he was going to get sent off as soon as he was given a yellow card, by the way, because he just doesn't stop, does he? That the good thing about him almost becomes the bad thing about him. When he doesn't stop, you're like, oh, this is great. You want to see all of this sort of where everyone's jumping up and down saying, oh, he's putting everything in, the type of thing you celebrate when he throws in a decent tackle. But when that becomes a yellow card, you're like, yeah, you've got to get this lad off now.
Yeah, you need to calm down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. We've only got a couple of minutes left, lads. But what I was going to move on to here is, obviously this leaves us still in the bottom 3. That the thing that scares me more than anything else is the fact we play more games than anyone else around us. You look at the results yesterday as well, when Wolves got that big win. Wolves have made some big steps to stay up. Other sides that I've seen people say are maybe in there. You look at teams that are quite considerably above us in terms of the position that they're in, but not in terms of points. You look at Palace, you look at sides like that, Leicester as well, who seem like they're on a bit of a free fall. How are you feeling after that performance? Rob, I'll come to you first for a minute or so, mate. How are you feeling going into Brentford at the weekend? Because the fixtures after that are really quite scary, to be honest with you, when we've got most of the top 5 or 6 sides. We've been saying, banging on for a few games now, this is must win, this is must win. We're now at the point where this is absolutely must win.
So is our contention that the side with the side that's currently in 9th place, that has 3 games in hand over us at the time of this recording, is the best opportunity we've got? Like, I think that, look, I don't want to, I'm not going to give up till the end. There's, at any moment, something weird happens, a win changes everything. But my God, we have all of these games that were just prime opportunities to pick up 3 points. For everyone who's excited about winning at home against Arsenal, I would point to losing at home to Southampton. I would point to the draw at home to Forest. I would point to this game today. Like, we have, against the dregs of the league, we still have not gotten a win against a promoted side. We have just, we've shit the bed. And Now we are left not only with we have so few games left, but the games we have are some pretty tough opponents who, many of whom have something to play for. And I just worry that we've run out of time. We've run out of opportunities at this point. But Brentford, look, this needed to be a win today. It wasn't. If there is such a thing as a must win, we've got to beat Brentford at home. We just have to. They've got Ivan Toney now suspended, right? So I mean, that helps a little, I guess. But look, we've just got to do it, and it'll be interesting to see if the manager looks at the balance of what he has put out there and has said, yeah, I'm going to stick with this 11 and just say that consistency works. But I don't think that he can make that argument given the performances. The bottom line ultimately, guys, is that Sean Dyche, we were promised organization. We were promised a tighter midfield and defense, and we haven't gotten those things yet. And so for me, on the balance, we just haven't. And so those need to change if we're going to have any chance of staying up, and certainly to win next weekend is paramount.
I'm sure this needs to change quick as well. Les, 1 minute, mate.
For me, Dave, I just think we need to look beyond the names of the teams that we're playing. So we need to look at Chelsea and think, fuck it, they've been rubbish. Let's try and have some belief in this game. Yeah. Tottenham the same, Palace the same, Leicester the same. Going away there, they've been shite. Why not? We're not very good. They're not very good. I think we need to look beyond the teams that we're playing, the names of them, and just go in with some belief, because it's all we've got now. It's all we're going to have. Even down to Newcastle at home, because they never win at Goodison, or they haven't done recently. Let's keep that going. I think we just need to, let's take each game as it comes and just go into it with some belief, because we can't, if we don't, we are fucked. So
yeah, I mean, if I'm going to end on a positive note, getting a point away from home, actually not losing, and also looking competent in certain areas. Yes, what Dyche will say, and probably has said already, is that we're improving and results will start to come, much the same way he said about Mopé the other day, saying that goals will come. Not too sure about that one, Sean. I'm not too sure that he should be playing that often if we can put Demarai Gray up there and Calvert-Lewin gets fit. But let's wait and see. Brentford to come next week. Bagfuls of stuff on the Blue Room, as always, because we love to talk about Everton regardless of the... Well, I don't want to say we love to talk about Everton, but we talk about other things as well, especially if you go and listen to the... to everything we did over the week there, Les, and our funny mailbag was as well. Do go and give that a listen about Brookside if you like that too. And we'll be back, I think, tomorrow, Monday, there'll be another podcast for you then. So we'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for supporting us, and up the toffees for whatever's left. Right, all done, lads.
That's going to cut off now, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll see you later, boys.
Nice one. Cheers, lads.